If you're going to get a big bore valve stem, get the hybrid.
Ride on, Jewel. Let your spirit be free with the wind at your back.
Hey, I told you I knew where I was.
Sing loud, Jewel. Let your heart be your guide in the depths of the thunder. It's your rant and your ride.
All right, so Canyon mountain bike. Let me show you how to remove an axle on a Canyon torque on mountain bike, since nobody knows on the internet. I've spent like 30 minutes watching videos, and they say, you know, get your Allen wrench over here for this bolt. Okay, but let's pretend I'm out on the trail and I got a flat tire. Okay, pull this out. All right, and loosen your axle. Wow, that was hard, internet. And then, of course, it'll slide out. Okay, the other thing is I got MilKit tire valve system, which I liked, but MilKit, you know, the valve stems are plastic and they just feel like I'm gonna snap them off. Also, I could only find real long ones. I couldn't get the shorties because they were back order or out of stock. So anyway, I'm changing them to big bore, and I like those, but they have their own issues. So if you're gonna get a big bore valve stem, get the hybrid where it has the Presta fitting, because not the Presta, the Schrader fitting. Get the big bore with the Schrader fitting, hybrid. Because with the Presta fitting, this does not work with my pressure gauge. All right? So this stem is not long enough to engage the pressure reading. It's not touching anything in there. So when you open the valve, it reads nothing. Okay, so if you have the hybrid with the Schrader valve, if I can get these straight, the bigger, you know, then it'll read pressure. So anyway, I was going to buy the hybrid, but I didn't, because I bought the boost bottle from MilKit, which is cool. You know, it only works once, basically, but it only fits Presta valves. Trying to get these right. Presta Schrader, Presta Schrader, Presta small, Schrader big. All right, so I don't know how well this video is going to work. Yeah, but so I'm putting in Muc-Off big bores. I took out my MilKit valve cores. So these are kind of cool, but they have a little hatch down here on the bottom that when you push the valve stem in, it opens it up. All right, like that. But I want to tell you that on the trail, you need to put air in your tire And it almost takes a really good special kind of pump. The pump I have that I use for my motorcycle tire would not pump air through the Presta valve and through that hatch on the bottom. It just wouldn't. It let out more air than it put in air. And then my friend had a longer tire pump that worked. Otherwise, I would have been in trouble. Now they make a boost bottle for this, which is really cool. You can put it on there and put air in your tires super fast. But once this is empty, you know, you're back to the pump situation. This makes it easy to put their sealant in, measure it, you know, but I don't like plastic stems, and these were super long. I couldn't, they were out of stock on the shorter ones, and so I'm changing them to the big bore. For now. I may go back, I may change from big bore to something else. So that goes on like that. These always just get finger tight. I mean, as tight as you can get it with your fingers, but you don't put a wrench on that. So we do put a wrench in here, and that's to tighten the top. So if I would say, if you go with the big bore, go with the Schrader setup. It's called the hybrid. Don't do the Presta. I went with the Presta because I bought that boost bottle. And I want to use the boost bottle. But the boost bottle costs $55. And so I didn't want it to go to waste. So I bought the Schrader valve. But if I didn't spend the money on the boost bottle already, I would get the hybrid system. They tell you you can put thread locker on this, but it has an O-ring. So I'm not putting thread locker on it. You make sure that the valve is facing outwards so you can get to it. The ball valve, because you want to open or close it. Alright, so this top part's tight, and then, you know, this part with the O-ring, you don't put a wrench on it, so basically you're just getting it as tight as you can with your fingers. I know my friend had a wrench that he said he got for that to tighten it up, but you're not supposed to have it super tight, I guess. So with the big bore, you know, I can no longer measure how much sealant I have in the tire. I can still put it in, which I'm going to put some more in there, but I can't measure how much sealant I have in there. So you have to do it conventional way, you know, is take one side of your tire off and look in there and see how much sealant you got in there. All right, so anyway. All right, so I got my sealant in my tire. I got to reseat the beads, so I got this MilKit boost bottle. We're going to put 100 or so pounds in that. Alrighty, 100 pounds in there. And we should be able to seat this tire back on the bead. All right, so that's seated on the bead, just like that. And because you have sealant in there, you know, on a big bore valve, you never want to try to put air in it or check your pressure when it's like that. You're going to blow sealant everywhere. It's going to go all over the place. All right. So I bought this little tire pump that I kind of did a little review on. It's set at 17 pounds. It works really good. So this is the pump hose. Screw it on. Press that on. Open the valve. And pump it up. And it shuts off automatically. All right, unscrew the hose. All right, now it says I put 17 pounds in there. Should be close to that. I think it's going to be a little bit more. But I leave the adapter on there because the problem with the pressed Muc-Off big bore is the stem isn't long enough to make a reading on my tire gauge. So I leave this on here so I can take a reading. Okay, so the pump went off at 17, but I actually have 21. So I'm gonna bleed off a little bit. And I like about 17. 17, 18. All right, so that's almost 18 pounds. We're going to leave it there. So that's how that works. We're going to try that for a while. And what caused me to change to the Muc-Off big bore was trying to get air into the MilKit system on the trail. I did not like fighting that, so I changed it. All right.